there are a few big questions that we are wrestling with in this industry. Let's start with a simple one. What is the point of a local telephone company? I mean, okay, sure, people need internet access, but most young people just use a cell phone for their residential service, and a business could buy service from anybody over the top. What is the point of a local ILEC in today's world?
Well, now you're starting to fight, Andrew. I guess I'll comment on that since we are that at our core. So you're right. The first thing is infrastructure and connectivity for IP, at least until 5G comes along and takes that away from us. But there is that infrastructure piece. And so we offer, not only cable-like speeds of 100 by 20 and that kind of stuff, but we have a lot of larger businesses that need gig E. We're quoting some 5 gig E and some 10 gig E now. So what's the purpose of the LEC or the local telco? Well, we still provide that extremely important internet bandwidth. And one thing we're finding is now that the apps are riding over that internet for the customer, and I had a very large enterprise customer tell me the other day, 98% of the business runs in the cloud. They have got to have extremely reliable internet, and not just one carrier. They've got to have redundant solutions. So I think, Andrew, the way we look at it, first of all, is we're there to provide highly reliable infrastructure for their IP needs, because that's driving part of the business. And now we're actually providing redundant solutions. We're actually reselling another carrier because as good as we are, they want to know that if we have a really bad day, that there's a complete another carrier with a complete different path. So we see that value. And then I think the second thing is, there's that relationship with the customers because we're local, that we provide that the big carriers just can't, especially the national VoIP providers, the big three, I call them, RingCentral, Vonage, and 8x8. They don't have that kind of relationship with the local customers.
Cool. Yeah, and can I add something to that, Andrew?
Go for it.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that the Ray's key point is, I mean, the rural telco is embedded in the communities in which they function, right? I mean, we're talking rural here, so for one thing, the national carriers, I mean, whether we like it or not, they are not really very interested in servicing the rural markets. And that's been the case for years, from the voice days. The other is when you're embedded in the community, you're living and working there, you're meeting the people. I mean, the relationship that you have and the way you're able to service the needs of that community, which you understand by virtue of living there, is completely different from somebody who's, 2,000 miles away or several hundred miles away and works for a large corporation and may not have the same sort of empathy for you. This is not this looks like a woo-woo point, but it's really not. It should not be underestimated how valuable that is. The other point, as Ray mentioned, is you need reliable internet connectivity. Well, somebody's got to provide that. And if something goes down, who's going to do that truck roll to you and fix the problems that you need or give you a guidance in terms of what you need to do? And the role of the telco is evolving, right? Today, people are doing everything from home security and data storage and compute facilities for their local markets than just the POTS service. I mean, POTS is just one service, delivered over VoIP. The role of the rural operator is way more than that, to be both the guide as well as the provider of these enhanced services. I mean, just because you're rural doesn't mean you're not, people don't want these broadband services that everybody else wants. In fact, there's a good amount of evidence, all over. You can look at studies which show that the moment you have high broadband connectivity, student performance is improving, overall community, involvement is improving. People are much better connected to the world outside. There's like many benefits, and only a local operator can really do that. So I think that in my opinion, for many, many years to come, that is an advantage you can take away. I mean, no amount of outsourcing and working remotely is going to take that away.
Cool. I just one comment that I would throw out there in addition is, I think one benefit that we see from the virtualization trend and applications moving to the cloud is that being a service provider has become a less capital intensive business. So 15 years ago, if you wanted to offer a new service, you had to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on some big box or mainframe that got put into your central office, and then hopefully you had the scale to justify it, but if you didn't, it was kind of just a necessary capital cost that was never going to be profitable. Whereas today, you can roll out a advanced contact center solution in the cloud without having to do the capital expense. You're just paying month by month for the service. So I think one benefit that any small company, whether that's an ILEC or an over-the-top provider with a particular vertical niche, the virtualization gives you the ability to deploy advanced applications even at a small scale, provided it's worth the effort to kind of get trained and so on.